let's get start demo first. So this is a web API using Dapper, and also we'll use a transaction in later, but here we'll implement CRUD operation in the using Dapper. So here I just implement get. So let me try execute. So once execute, I will get that all the result using the Dapper get API. And then if I want to post, so let me post it, try and post. So once I post, I will get that whatever IDs we created in 43, and that I can get by that 43 as well. 43. So yeah, that 43 data is available. Now if I want to update something related to 43, so I can just update as well using Dapper. So let me change name it, and also put that 43 ID, 43 ID, and then execute. Once we execute, we can verify again over here. Let me see. Yeah, so already is updated with 43. And if I want to delete, so we can easily delete that 43 ID. So those are things we will implement with this Dapper using .NET Web API. So I will show you from the scratch how we can do that, and this is a new series. So many things we will do in this series with the Dapper, like how we can use multiple transaction, how we can handle the transaction, as well as how we can use repository pattern with Dapper, with the Dapper. So many things we will do in this series. So let's get start implementation. So before implementation, I'm especially recommend, if you first time visit in my channel, so just check out um my .NET .NET real world example YouTube channel. Here you will get other also .NET Core Web API and many other example over here. You can just check out. So here you can get many other things, like how we can easily handle that expression methods and repository pattern and unit of work. Everything actually we have done. So you can just check out and put the learning perspective. So yeah, before moving further discussion, let me start the implementation. So first of all, I'll just create a new application with the using Visual Studio 2022, and let me create a new project, and I'll choose that .NET Core Web API. Choose next. Use here just as a name it, uh, Dapper Web API, and next use that. See, I'm using .NET 8 long-term supports, and just created as the default setting we have used. Now our default template has been created for web API. So as of now, here's a nothing, just we have a default controller, so we can leave it as of now. There is a no harm. So first of all, you need to two packages for using Dapper. So let me import that two package. What are that package? First of all, I'll just use the Dapper. So you have to use the Dapper. So this is that one, Dapper in Apache. License is Apache 2.0, which is a free, we can use it. And let me zoom in for you so that you can see the what is that package we are using by the Sam Saffron. They actually created this Dapper package. I'll use the Dapper, and let me install this. Now second package is, once you search SQL client, so you will get this Microsoft Data SQL client. So you have to install this one. So I am just using this one so that our connectivity can easily get it, accept it. Now if these two packages done, then moving further to implementation. So first of all, what I will do, for I'll just create a data folder so that our data can manage over here. And let me create a data folder over here. and here I just need to create a one data provider class over there. So I'll just use interface. Name interface would be db connection provider. Once I created the db connection provider, what I will do, I'll just create a one method to actually stable our connection. So yeah, see, I'll just use that idv connection, which is import as system.data, and I just expose that one method, and that method also will implement in our concrete class. So let me create that class, implementation class. Go to the Dapper class in this data folder, and use that same name with that implementation class, add, and here just import that I data idb provider connection, and then implement that. Now here very simple and straightforward implementation would be over here. Simply what I will do, I have to create a constructor so that I can get that connection string over there. So let me create a connection string, and here I will get that connection string. So let me use that I options and bring the namespace, this one, and then you have to just pass whatever connection string you want. So I'll just create a class to store our connection string. So as of now we don't have, but yeah, we'll use on a little bit later, and make it that options, and simply I have to assign this in our constructor using dependency injection. So let me create a field and assign it to over here, and you can just remove it over there. Dot value, that's it. So this is done for this, getting the connection string from this using the dependency injection. Let me create this connection string class as well, so that we can get this one in our here. So let me create a setting folder over there, so that all the setting folder we can use it over there. Settings, and create that class. And here what I need to do, I need to create a our connection string name over there. So let me create that, and as of now we have one connection string, so I will use, but yeah, upcoming session will use multiple connection, how we can establish the multiple connection in Dapper. So just for the starting perspective, I think that is fine for that one connection as at a time. And now finally what I will do now, just that is go to our db connection provider. Now should we bring the namespace over there, which just we have to create it, and now we have to implement our create connections. So let me start that one. It is very simple. First of all, what I need to do, to create a variable over there. Let me name it as connections, and here I'll just call that SQL connection, and this one which will coming from the data client, which we import already, right? And here whatever connection string we have, I can just pass it over there, dot SQL connections, and that's it for here. And go to that next line, and we have to open this connection. So first we have to use the SQL client, and SQL client has a extension method we have to open, so that whatever connection we have to try to open, and then simply return that connection. That's it. So this is a simple straightforward implementation for the creator connections with the idb connections in Dapper. So once it's done, let me move it to our repository class. So where I can just use our insert, update, delete, all the transaction things we can just implement. So moving forward, what I will know, what I will to do over here, I'll just create a repository folder over here, and here I'll just create a interface. Inside the repository I will just create an interface so that our service can interact only with the repository abstraction. So let me create a interface over there. Let's me call it to company repository. So let me name it to company repository and add. And here I'll just expose all the method over there, like for example get connect company's details. This is a get company details, and we don't have as of now a company entity model, which will create it as of now a little bit later. But yeah, as of now, just first we have to just implement all that signature first. So get companies all the details and get company by the ID, and that other one is create company. So this is a create company, simply return the company as well as whatever create how we can create the company. So we have to pass that entity as well. And finally, the other two things we have to implement, we have to declare here as well, update company and the delete company. So this is done for declaration all the signature. So these are the transaction our we can maintain over here, like gets all the details, get by ID, company, create company, update company and delete company. That's it. And now pending to create this company's entity. So let me create this company entity as well. So I just need to create one another folder that is called entity model, right? Yes. And let me create that name class, entity model class over here, like that. And here we will get more properties. So these are that common property for this company, like ID, name, address and also country. And we can use the relationship as well, but that will we do later. But yeah, as first I'll just create that that one over here, so that in upcoming series that will help for us, like to understand like that relationship, how we can easily maintain, like all that, how all the company, how many employees we can get together. So those are things we also will do. But yeah, let me create that first entity. And now another entity, we have to create this employee model. So let me create that employee entity as well. Class, create a employee, and employee also have some uh, property along with this company foreign key relationship. So these are all the properties, like employee has ID, name, age and position, and also which company has a which employee has a which company, right? So that also has a foreign key relationship over here. So that is done. Now moving forward to our repository implementation. So I'll just implement whatever we have just signature class, right? Okay, first we have to bring the namespace of the company. Let me bring the namespace. And now we have to ready to implement our concrete class for this here. So let me create a concrete class to implement I company repository here. Make it name is a company repository, add. And here I'll just implement uh, all the all the operations. So first of all, I will just create a constructor so that I can inject our connection string, or connection which will create a DB connection provider, right? So we have a DB connection provider. What is the name of that? Which is name is IDB contact provider, right? So let me inject that one in our company repository. Go to that company repository here, and let me call as a factory or whatever things you want. Let me call it to that as a variable, and then we have to assign in this constructor so that we can use in further our implementation. So that is ready to initialize over there. And now let me import inherit that I company repository, and this I company repository have many method, right, which we have to declare as a signature, so that we will implement over here. So first I will implement with the order, like say companies, and get company by the ID, so that I'll just take it at top so that I can implement as a sequence. So first of all, it's a very simple. I need to create a query, so which will return our companies. So let me create a query like that, where query I just simply, query just I set SQL select star from that company, right, whatever our company table. I just create a query, and then what I will do, I'll just create a using block, and inside that using block what I will do, where connection, I have to use that, I have to open that connection. So how we can that, which we already have done in this DB connection provider, right? We have just create a stable the connection. So call that DB connection provider and that create connection method. That's it. We nothing to do over here. So it will create a connections over there, and in that connection, whatever things we want, we can use it. For example, let me use await connections dot see here. uh, we have many method over there. For example, see, these are all the extension method provided by the Dapper. See, this is a Dapper, right? So we have a query async, query first and default, execute query, many extension method actually provided by the Dapper. So those are will be used in this series one by one. Don't worry about that. Every extension method we will use as per the requirement. So here I need to use that query async async method. Here's a two way actually, query without async and also async. So I will use that async method, and I can pass it also as a whatever generic, actually it is a generic extension method, and so whatever entity you want to return, so you can just pass it to as a name. So I want to return as a company, which we have to create it and pass it to query. That's it. And simply we can store as a where companies as a variable, so that whatever is the data written over there, we can store it here, and simply I can return over this returns as a company. But see, we just returning as a enumerable, so we can just simply companies dot to string to list. Actually we can return as a this, but yeah, ideally it is returning same things, but we don't need to do that. But yeah, just make sure like return as a list, so that's why I just set it a list. Okay, similar way I have to use there's a query. See, I using this query we can get the result, right? But yeah, later on we have many options to use that views, how we can use the view, how we can use that procedure, many things. And also we'll use a generic repository, how we can handle instead of this using the generic repository. That also we'll do in this upcoming series. So we'll do one by one, so that you can easily digest. So let me move forward the further implementation for the get company ID. So how we can do that? Again, it's very simple. Similar, again I have to just pass the query. This is a simple query. Select star from that company and where ID with this whatever ID we are passing, right? So we have set this over here, and now again we have to do same things whatever we have done using this connection string. And let me just do similar way using that connections, and then create connections and use that connections and use single. Now see, this time I am using another extension method which is written as single one. So also we have extension method which will return single query single or default async, so it will return only single data with this parameter. So I just pass that query, whatever query I have, or along with this whatever ID I want, right? Means as a filter, so that ID I can use it over here. And upcoming session also I'll show you like how we can use, others way to pass that parameter, like uh, how we can pass as a dictionary, how we can pass as a a dynamic parameter. So everything we will use, not issue. And it is async habit, so what I need to do, simply I have to use that asynchronize, and that is also done. Now move it to next. Here what I'll do, I'll just create another query for the create company. So simple, we have to create a insert query. So insert into company, whatever property we want to insert, just insert as values and pass that as a property, as a parameter. And finally what I'll do, I just return as a whatever last identity generated for this insert query. After that I will return as well. So that is a simple query of SQL query. And then what I will do, again we have to use that using statement to create a connection and call it to that. So I'll just not writing again, so that I'll just using this existing code. So using that connection, again stable the connection, remove that. And what I will do, simply connection dot, this time see I'll use that execute scalar, so that in this execute scalar return as a whatever the last identity and single uh, it is option actually, whatever you want, like this you want to return as an integer, or you want to return whatever things, right? So it is a generic extension method. So I'll just pass it a int because I'll just returning as a int. But if you want to return something else, you can return, not an issue. And simply make it to async await, so that we can resolve our error. Simply I just pass the query. And also see, nothing we have to do over here to there is a many way actually to pass that parameter. So simply whatever our we have entity, we can simply pass it over here direct like this way. But make sure whatever object and whatever entity we have, that should be a same name which we have to define. Like for example, it is a name, a capital NAME, right? And if you go back, so I just as a paste as a value parameter, like as a same name, so that should be match, then it will work. If it is not match, that it should not work, right? So for this actually there's another way also. So for first directly you can just pass the entity, you can just pass the value as well, like it's a single entity, right? There's another way also. I'll just for the knowledge perspective, I'll show you how we can use another way. Like see, can just create a parameter as a dynamic parameter, and here we can specify, suppose I want to pass something else like name, for example 1 2, name example 1 2 3, right? But here you can just use same name 1 2 3, and here you can just whatever data you can just assign over here as a parameters. So like this way actually also you can do that, right? So I'll just keep it over here, I'll just save it, so that now if you required you can use this way also. And there is another way also we can use, that also I'll show you. For example, dictionary. So let me show you how we can pass the dictionary as well. So simply what you have to do, you have to create a query parameter, okay? And here you can just pass whatever name. So if you want to name, so just pass it to name over here for the value parameter. And suppose you are using 1 2 3, so just me pass it a 1 2 3, and whatever object value you can pass it to as a object value. For example, this dot name, like this. So you can just multiple object also you can use over here, and you can pass it to this query parameter to over here, like that. Okay, so this is a way actually, just for the knowledge perspective I'll just show you many way actually we can pass as a parameter. But this is a fine way actually, right? Because if we have entity, same entity which we have stored in our table, right? So we can just pass as an entity, so that is fine. It is a clean approach, so that's why I'm using this way. Okay, so moving forward, now we have returning company ID, whatever last company ID we are just again adding over here, and just return to the this company model, right? And now moving forward to that update one, so let me implement this update one also. So it is again we have to create a one query to update query. It is like that. Let me bring back in a second line so that you can easily see. So query update company set name, whatever name, address, country, whatever country, and where I want to update this whatever ID, right? Based on this we have to do that. And again there's a same way approach you can use, many whatever parameter type you want to pass, you can use that similar way, but yeah, I will use that common way whatever we using that entity model. And here what I need to do, let me fix first async of it and create a connections, use that execute see there's another extension method execute async, and here I just need to execute, I don't want to return anything, so that's why I'm just using execute. And here's the execute whatever query they want to execute with this parameter, they will just execute or return back to, if any exception they will occurring the exception. So like this way we can implement update. And then finally I will implement for that delete. So again I have to create a delete query for this delete SQL query. So this is a delete SQL query over here, like delete from company where this ID, and based on this I'll just implement again, create a connection and create connection provider, and again execute, I will use that execute extension method, pass it the query with the ID, and that will be delete our data. So see, these are the way, actually this is a simple way we can use a Dapper to implement our insert, update, get and get by ID implementation. So that is done. Once is done, so what I will do, I'll just create a service. That service actually interact this repository, and that service will be connect with our controller. We have actually abstraction layer of the service layer, so that whatever business things we have do in this service layer, they don't need to do any implementation expose for that to client. So that's why I will use as a service layer. So let me create a service layer. Let me create a service folder, services, and in this services what I will do, again I'll just create a interface. This is a actually the common approach, we use that interface so that uh, we can abstract whatever service things we are doing in our controller. So let me create interface for that service layer and create iCompany service. And here again we have to expose some of the method, so that whatever method you want you can just expose over here as a service layer. And see this service layer just passing the that view model, right? And the service layer service actually interact with the repository, whatever that things actually, whatever business logic we will put inside this implementation of the service layer, so that our client does not know what actually going on and what is that real implementation, and they don't bother about that implementation as well. So what I will do, simply see, as I see, as a company or as a service we are using that BM model, so I have to create this BM model again in our client side. So let me create a view model folder, uh, view model, and inside this view model I need to create that model. So create a class as a view model over here, and we have to use whatever property we want, right? So let me create a few property of this company view model. So we have ID, name as like a same entity model, right? But yeah, we can use as a different as well, that is not dependent only that whatever we using for here, but for the demos perspective I'm just showing you like how we can use it. And similar way, the company has a relationship of the employee, right? So that also will maintain over here, so that for the further series or session I can show you like how can interact with the employee data with along with the company, or company, how many company have a how many employees. So those are things we'll implement. So that's why I just created again for this employee model class as well inside the view model. So let me create that one too. So this is again just create an employee model class, and it's have also same kind of relationship like those employee informations along with the whatever the company foreign key relationship, right? So that we can maintain over here. So once you've done, go back to your service layer, bring back that namespace here, so we can get rid that error. So this is done. All that service we have just create a signature or as a declaration. Let me implement this as a concrete class. So inside the service folder, let me create again as call it as a company service and just add it. And now here what I will do, simply I will just inherit that company service, so that whatever implement whatever service we have to declaration, so we can implement over here. Let me implement. So before implementation start, what I will to do, I'll just create a constructor and I have to inject in our repository, right? Which repository we have to do over here. So my repository would be over here, company repository, right? So company repository, and here company repository, just set it the variable and use a constructor assignation, and that is done. Now we have to start our implementation. So again we'll start implementation of get it from here and take it on top, so that we can start implementation is a sequential. So let me start for this company's details. So first of all, take it that company repository and remove that, and that company repository dot get companies, right? All the companies, that there is a method, right? Get all companies, and that get all companies we can use over here as a return. And so that what I will do is a store is a companies, and see it is just a synchronized method. So I'll do as a await, and once I await, so this companies, what I will do is this company returning as a company entity model, right? But in this here you will see that the service returning our view model, right? So here we have to do some our business logic, right? So that's why we have to use our mapper. So what I will do, I will use as a automapper. So if you're not aware that how's the implement automator, you can just check out my old session where actually I .NET Core App Web API with the repository pattern. I just showing you like how we can use that automapper easily. So as of now, just I will use that automapper, and this for the automapper, what I need to do, I have to import as a package. This is called is this one. So first of all, I just import this package. I'm not going to detail, but yeah, I'll just show you. And also I have to just create a assign and a field so that I can use. So see, the automapper has been installed, and just assign in this constructor so that I can use. So why I'm using the automapper? Simply, I have an entity model, but that service will return as a DTO, right? As a view model. So what that automator will do, automapper will just easily map without any expansion or extendable method to map our entity. So it's simply whatever mapper you want, so like just entity to model, model to entity, it will just easily map automatically their side. So let me show you. Let simply I just put as a response, and then how we can map. Simply I have to use that mapper dot map, and here see which actually destination you want. So I want to destination of this company model, and what is the source? Source is our entity, right? So that I just edit over here. See, this is our destination and this is source. So I just pass as a source, this guy is a source, and this is a destination. So they will map automatically, and finally I'll just simply return to that response. So this is done, but one more thing actually we have to do. See what actually it is asking. It is asking, it is some error. Okay, so it is saying as a INumerable, right? So we are returning INumerable, but it is just simply returning that, as a single entity, right? So what I need to do, simply I can convert it to as a pass it to INumerable, so that they can map and easily as a list and then simply return. So this is done. Now one more thing, actually once we use the mapper, we have to do one more things, so that I have to do over here. So what I need to do, go to that before the program start file, what I need to do, I have to create a one class, mapper class. So let me create that mapper, and here what I have to do, I have to use uh, one class to create manage all the mapping. So let me create that class to map all the DTO to entity and entity to DTO. So using the mapping profile, and here I have to use that profile. This is the best way actually use that mapper. So profile, and finally constructor, and in this constructor what I will do here, I have to set actually to which map I want to do. So let me show you so that you can better understand. So what I'm trying to do over here, simply I want to map this model to our entity model, right? This company, so that we have to specify over there so that they can understand while mapping. You just forcefully tell what mapping you want to trying to over here, right? So that's why actually this class to help to map. So what is we are doing, the create map, and I want to map company, whatever company entity. This is a company, and then our company model, right? So whatever view model name is our company model. So this is the way we can easily set it, and same we can use for that create. We have another model, right? See, if you go to company model, so there is a one model of company model, but inside again we have a employee model which will manage with this employee entity. So that also we have to map so that we can avoid that exception while that. So employee and similar employee model, and there is a one more method actually, reverse map. So this will actually helps to vice versa as well. Like suppose you want to company model, you want to entity to entity model, entity to DTO, and DTO to entity also, it will helps to this extension method. So that's why we have used this one. So similar way I can use for here. That's it, and go back to your program.cs file. One more thing actually, while mapping, if you map this one, so this mapping also we have to do something in the program.cs file as a registration, so that they can .NET Core can understand, okay, we have registered the mapper. So what you need to do over here, simply you have to expose something. For example, if you go to here and before app.builder, what you have to do, simply just you have to create a one variable mapper configuration, and use this mapper configuration which is coming from here, auto mapper, and inside this you have to put the lambda expression and use that add profile extension, and here you can pass whatever your mapping mapping class, right? So that you can just import over here. So let me call that name, maybe it is a different name. So copy this name and type up, you can just pass it to that, and you can just import whatever namespace, and that's it. And then finally this two, you have to create a mapper using again that mapper configuration, and then finally builder.service.add singleton, you have to just register like this way. So this is a way. Let me zoom in for you so that you can understand again. So this is the way actually you can just register your mapper profile. So once it's done, go back to your service implementation. So now whatever mapper you want to map, so easily we can map like this way, entity to DTO, DT to entity, whatever things. So that would be a clean approach. That's why I'm showing you. So let me move it to further for that another one. So another one also we can use a similar way. Simply I have to call that repository and get company, and that company I have to pass that ID. Let me fix for async await, and simply get the data. Again we have to trying to map, so there's a no additional things we have to do similar approach. And for further also we'll use for that create as well. So again I have to call that repository, but before that, see, in this create, let me put as a sync. In this create, what I'm trying to do, first actually, see, this is a view model, right? But our repository expected entity. So what I need to do first, I have to just map, actually convert to model to entity, view model to entity model. So that's why I just using this company to this, and we have to store and then will pass. And then again once I get this response as an entity model, again I am just trying to that view model. So this is actually way, the clean way, so that we can that's why I'm using that auto mapper, and simply I have to return that response. That's it. And now moving forward to that update one, go to update. Let me implement that first update. Again I have to just convert to our entity, view model to entity, and return back to our return to whatever it is, just true or false, and whatever things we can just return. And similar things we have to do for the delete. So this is our delete. Simple. We don't need to do anything conversion over here because it is a simple passing that ID. So we just pass it as a call as our service repository, and that's it. So this is done. Let me build so that we can make sure there is a no issue. So now it's successfully built. There is a no issue. And now finally what need to do, I have to call this service in our controller. So let me create a one controller. Let me call it to controller and make it a web API controller. Not only web API controller API, you can just use this service for any application, like if you want to MVC application, you want to our Blazor application, anywhere actually, whatever client you want to use, simply this service you can just use it. So as of now I will show you in here, but yeah, upcoming session we can do many things for other as well. So let me call it to company controller, but it is a simple company controller with simple approach, right? So let me add this company controller, and here we need to expose that all that we have to expose actually all that method over here, all that endpoint. So first what I need to do, I just use the constructor so that our service can interact with our here like controller. So what is our service name? My service name would be company company service, and then we can initialize this as a service. I'm not interacting with this repository. I will interact only that service, and that's because this is actually way that approach, so that that abstraction actually, the service layer can abstract layer, and that abstraction we can use on over here. And simply once you initialize, then we have to use our all that endpoints. So first endpoint would be our get all endpoints, and here simply I will use company and get companies, call that get a company methods and pass it whatever company we have, we simply return that company. Similar way I'll just use for that other method for quickly. So I'll just create another endpoint, get by id endpoint, get by id, passing the id, call that company service, passing the id, and just our things. Okay, if it is null then return not found, and then if it is we have a not null, then we have to return the data. Similar way we'll use that post method. So whatever post I want to do, so I can use. And one more thing, you if you want to use that logger, so you can use it. So let me use that logger as well, so that you can aware that how we can use logger. So use that ilogger existing interface, you can use as a logger. Use that company whatever class you want to use, so you can set it over here and create an instance, set a variable and create the instance. So once it's done, you can use as a logger as well. So this is additional things I'm showing, but it is not a part of any Dapper and things. But yeah, see, it is again this company call the company service, pass that entity model and get that result, and just passing, okay, just return that, okay, it is created, and whatever response you just return back. Similar I will use for that put endpoint. So this is put endpoint. Here again we expect form body id and form body model as a model, whatever you want to update. So whatever id, first I just checking with this get company id method. If it is not null, then we have to move forward for the process. If it is null, then we return that. And finally is for delete. So this is delete endpoint. Here again delete company and company id, pass similar way, just delete. So once is done, I hope everything should work. But yeah, one more thing actually we have to do. See, this controller has a dependent that I company, right? Means that abstraction layer of the company. If you go to that company service, let me go show you the company service. This company service again dependent on that repository, right? So those things actually that .NET framework, and in .NET actually you have to uh, resolve the dependency. Without resolve the dependency, you can't achieve actually successfully execute. So I just created one dependency injection session. If you want, you can check out in my channel. But yeah, here also I'll just show you like how we can resolve the dependency. Also one more thing actually is still missing. If you go to the data here, db provider, right? So see, we are getting some connection string, right? Based on this connection string, we can create a SQL connection. So those connection string we have to store as well as over here like SQL connection setting, right? So this configuration is still pending, that we have to do. So let me go one by one. First what I will do, I'll just create a connection string so that we can use that connection string. So go to that uh, app.setting here. So go to that app.setting here and let me create a one connection string so that I can use that connection string. So copy over here and let me create a variable connection string and SQL connection, and whatever my connections I can use it. Whatever your connection, you can just pass it over here as a like. See, data source is I just use window credentials, but yeah, you can use whatever SQL credential and else. So you can just pass whatever DB name. So I have already DB, but yeah, if you want, so you can create yourself as well. So with again you can just create a whatever db and things, you can just create a your side. So this is the way we can set a connection string, and this is a db we have already as an employee db which have those table. But make sure if you implement this, so whatever entity you have created, right? So see, if you go to that entity model, so I have created a company and as well as companies. So companies are employees, so those relationship also you have to take in care in your DB. So let me open and show you how I can maintain that. So let me show you, or you can just create a new DB as well, not a issue. But see, I just using this employee DB, and this employee DB also I have this, company table, and this company table have this, and also has a employee table. So those employee table has also a foreign key relationship of that company ID, right? So this script, if you want, I can available also, I can show you, I can give you actually in this repository, you can check out. But yeah, it is a better way actually, you can just create yourself. This is a simple things, right? So you can just create your DB with along with this two tables, and then you can use it. And also I'll just mention those script in this repository once I push, so you can take it and you can execute your this script in your SQL DB before running this application. So this is done, like connection string done, our SQL script also done. Now moving further to your program.cs file to registration, all the stuff. So first what I need to do, I have to just whatever that connection string things, right? So that I have to map. So let me start this builder dot services dot configure. So there is a way actually we can configure our that class. So what is our my class? My class name is setting class would be the SQL connection, and the SQL connection we have a, just make sure, see, SQL connection string which I have the same name. So make sure whatever name property name you just make sure it's the same name. That's why it will bind. If it is not same name, it should not bind. So let me paste it over here. Not this one, copy that same name, connection string name, this one. So copy this one, go back to your program.cs file. Here just mention your connection string setting name, and here the way you can bind directly. So I will use that builder dot configuration dot get connection get there is a many way actually we can use, but I will use that get section, and here I have to pass that name of the key. See, it is expecting the key. So what is my key name? My key name is connection string. So copy this one and pass it to over here, and that's it. So this is actually we have to bind that SQL connection string. Now we can use easily where we want, right? So this is done for that SQL connection string. And then what I need to do, I have to use have to register this company service and that other service. So let me register those things as well. So I can register those things here. So that iCompany repository, let me copy that, import that, and also that import this guy. So see, that repository I have just used the add scope. There's a many way to register, but yeah, add scope is fine for here. So add scope, I just register for this company repository and this repository and this repository. And one more things we have to do, that that IDB connection provider, right? So one more thing actually we have to register for that, this guy. So let me import, or let me actually register this guy also. So these three things you have to register, like IDB provider, and what is that concrete class, and iCompany service, and I repository. So these three things you have to do that. Once is done, I hope that should be fine. Okay, let me run and see in action. So now see, it is running successfully, there's a no issue. Once company, let me try execute. I'm executing, but I'm getting some issue. So that is fine, let me fix what is the issue. So it is saying, see, it is saying connection string passing some parameter, right? And it's only invariant support global just made. Okay, so this is issue for our .NET 8 have a one issue. So I'll show you how we can fix that. So if you use creating .NET 8 API or any application, I think it is providing, see, this invariant globalization true, right? So that's actually complaining. If you go and see the check, it's saying the only invariant culture support globalization mode, right? So this is actually creating a problem. In our case, what I need to do, I have to just false, so that we can successfully run our application. So if you go back, let me stop this application and run it again. So once you run, let me execute one more time. Let's see what happened this time. Now see, I'm getting data because they already exist, the DB, and DB have a data, so that's why we are getting the data. And if you go to company, create a new company. So for example, I want to create a new company, uh, for example, my new company, right? And address would be uh, Delhi, and country would be India, and we can keep it rest of things, we can remove as well, not an issue. So let me execute. Once you execute at the name, okay, see, actually we have changed some name, right, for the showing the example, like, okay, how we can pass the parameter. So that's actually complaining because what I am sending as a name, that name is does not match, right? So that's why it's complaining. So this is a good way to show you like what how we can map that our correct things, right? So go to that your repository. Where is my repository? Go to my repository, go to the company repository implementation, go to that insert method, and here see I just passed extra name, right? But it is, if it is your name also same, so there is a no issue. But yeah, that's a issue, right? If I not match whatever parameter I'm passing. So once you execute, stop, run it again. Let me run it again. Yeah, post, try my new company, and company is Delhi, and country would be India, and execute. Once you execute, see it just get loaded and created a new company with 44. Also you can make sure in your DB. So if you execute your query, select star from company, so you will get the data, whatever data is created last one. See, this is the last one, you can see over here, which is created. So that one is created. Now moving back, let me get it over here as well. What is that ID was 44. So let me get this 44 using the API. Now you also get that data, and if you want to update something, that 44 you can update as well, 44. And if you want to update something, for example, new company to old company, right? So let me change the Delhi to Gurgaon, and also country would be India to something else, like, or India, or like keep it India as well, India. So once you execute, it should be update. So let me just make sure, verify perspective it is updated or not. Yeah, this is updated. If I see that data in the SQL DB, also it is updated with the Gurgaon and also India. And let me delete as well. So if you trying to delete 44, it should be delete. If you go to the DB, it should not be over there. See, the last record also has been deleted. So this is the way, and you can implement your insert, update, delete, or any CRUD operation in the Dapper in .NET Core Web API, that I'll show you from the scratch everything, like using the mapper, everything. Let me recap what we have done. So first of all, you have to create this DB connection provider, and you have to declare the signature of the DB connection, and then you have to implement that using that passing that connection string. And in the connection string you have to just create a SQL client over here, and once you create it, then you have to just create your repository, and the repository you have to expose whatever your operation you want, declare signature, that insert, update, delete, whatever things we have to create it over here. And then we also implement one by one using that IDB connection provider, and this IDB connection provider create a connection and using all the operations over here one by one. And once is repository done, then what I have to do, I just create a service so that our client can interact with this service layer, not in the repository layer. So again, just I create a expose some method for that client perspective, and that also we have implement over here with the help of that I company repository, that is I injected, and also whatever method we want, that actually we have interact the DB, that is I calling, and just I using that mapper to map our entity. And finally, this company company service actually call as a controller, as a company controller, which is our API, nothing. And this API we are just import or just using as a dependency injection we use, and also we just expose all that endpoint one by one, and be using that service abstraction company service layer, right? And finally, all of things we have done, then we have to store our connection string over here in the app settings. And before to create a connection string, you have to just create your DB and your SQL setup, and whatever setup you want you can just use it, like for example SQL, MySQL, and and other DB as well. So you can just create setup and just store that connection string over here, and also just create a script which I will share you. But if you want, you can just create just simple company and employee table script. You can create it as a script. And finally, once all the things done, you have to go to the program.cs file. You have to register all the services, all that layer which we have created, like company repository, I company service, DB connection provider, and also we using mapping, so you can just map. And one more thing we have to over here just configured, or just we have set up storing actually our connection string read, and just store this class, right, SQL client, so that I can use. So those are things actually we can done, and we can use it. An upcoming session we'll do further, like we can maintain the transaction as well, like how we can maintain the transaction, like suppose we have a two table, company and employee, so how we can just manage the transaction in together, so that once one transaction can fail, so next should be not execute, or just once has completed and next is failed, so previous one should not execute, it should be also roll back. So something kind of we will use in further in for this Dapper series, so that we can understand easily step by step. So thanks for now, have a nice day, and don't forget to like, subscribe and share.